Okay.
There you go. You should be live if you want to check the stream right now. Yeah, we're live. So if you want to take care of that, I'll be right back as soon as I can.
Okay.
I'm dealing with the perils of homebrew right now.
Oh.
My buddies.
What is your current peril?
My buddies made this beer a few years ago before I joined them, and they accidentally messed up the recipe. They were doing two at once, and they decided it would be a good idea to put the hops that were supposed to go in one in the other. Well, that over-hopped the beer.
No.
And it's actually fantastic. I love it, but it's overcarbonated and everything else, and so it decided to explode on me tonight, right on my keyboard.
Oh, I mean, exploding beer is just—it's part of the hobby at that point.
But I mean, you go exploded beer, but it's still, I didn't lose much.
No, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's just it landed right on my keyboard, and so now every time I give it a few seconds, and my keyboard just decides to freak out and do whatever it wants to do. So YouTube, I am coming to talk to you and pull up chat, but maybe.
Where did that go? That's what. Oh, scroll. Oh, look at that.
What's that?
I hadn't caught up for a second, but pictures of Rossi on a plane.
Oh yeah, that's highlight news for tonight. Rossi to Turkey is picking up steam.
Yeah. I'd seen like notices that it was a thing, but I just saw the picture somebody posted in the chat. Very strange. So, I'm going to share this. Email to. I assume if I do that, that's all done. Excellent. My wife thinks this is all hilarious, and as a result thinks that she should watch and be able to make fun of me later. So.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
else was I? Woof. Interesting. Catching up with Discord as a result of dinner and bedtime. So
Okay, I'm just where I can see chat. How do I look different? I did clean up my office a little bit today. Oh, names are swapped. Reid will fix that when he gets back.
oh, they are on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everybody. Sorry for the delay. Just having some fun times with Baby Roo. Let's see here. Let's get our stuff moved around real quick before we get started right here. Nathaniel, do you have a Twitter?
Yes, at Quance Q Quance.
Quance Q Quance.
That is 100% a Twitter that gets used to do things like check lineups. I've got like 7 tweets in my name or something.
Hey, whatever works. Let's see here. There we go, got that switched over. Hey everybody, sorry for the delay. Let me get the info posted over on Reddit. Let me get the info updated in general. Goodness gracious. Change that graphic. Pictures. Where is it? There we go. Open that. Put it in the right spot. Save that. Copy URL. Alright, there is the social out there, and you guys are good here, so sorry for the delay, everyone. 10 watching. I've already got the Twitter messages sent out, so if you could, as always, appreciate the little retweet of the Twitter messages to make sure people know we are live and streaming. All right, let me make sure, hit that record button so
Recording in progress.
so Ashley doesn't get on me. So we've got that. And all right, yeah, again, sorry everybody for the little bit of rough start. Baby Rue was not wanting to go to bed, so I had to help with that. Fingers crossed that he is fixed and I don't have to run off again, but you never know. Those of you with kids, well aware of this, you never know. So we'll see. All right. Welcome, Nathaniel, of course. You good with the rundown?
Yeah.
All right. Well, excited to have you on the show.
He reminds himself of what he wrote.
Okay, it is what it is. All right. All right. Well, let's see here. Well, let's get started. So thanks everyone. Here we go. Here we go. One more drink. Hello and welcome to episode 22 of the MLS Fantasy Insider, our preview of round 19. This episode is brought to you by the Fantasy Headache. Symptoms include #because MLS, call-ups, and the return of Carles Heel. Actually, brought to you by the amazing Patreon supporters of the MLS Fantasy Insider and MLSFantasyBoss.com. I'm your host, Reid Connolly from MLS Fantasy Boss, and tonight I'm joined by our co-host, Blayne Riffle. Once again, Ashley is out, couldn't join us tonight, so please do keep her and her family in your thoughts. She should be back next week, but in her place, we'd like to welcome our very special guest, one of our top Patreon supporters, Nathaniel Quance. How's everyone doing tonight?
Good.
Also well.
Good. Glad to have you here, Nathaniel. Now, you've been a Patreon supporter for, what, about 3 years now?
Yes. It was 2 years, and then I took a year off because I didn't actually play FMLS because I really liked the salary side of the game, and when they mucked with that and like sort of made it so it wasn't like actually like you could make money and then just be Mr. Pennybags and just like buy whoever you want. I kind of took that year off, so I didn't do much. But then back in with a vengeance once they reverted to
Back in.
The way I like to play.
Indeed. Well, we are happy to have you here. Happy to have you back into the Patreon family. Have you found that? Go ahead and give a quick little plug for why you have chosen to be a Patreon supporter for all these years.
I like Fantasy MLS. I like MLS as a league, and I like this particular community, mostly the fantasy community, and I've been listening to you guys now for the entire time. It was like, I had like 2 friends who were like, you should join Fantasy MLS just cause, and we're going to do a league, but it's just going to be the 3 of us. And we were all like season ticket members for Sporting, and I was like, okay, I'll do that. And then once I started that, like, because I play other fantasy sports, I was like, well, I don't want to do this and then like just be god awful because like I'm just gonna get smoked by these guys. And so I started searching around, and I found MLS Fantasy Boss, and then found the podcast, and I'm a podcast guy, and as a result, I just fell in, and I enjoy the tips, I enjoy all the banter, and I've really enjoyed, as a result of getting really back into it heavily this year, I've really enjoyed the Discord community.
Yeah.
So, I can't recommend that enough. That's my only plug-in. I guess I did it at the top. So,
Hey,
so much for the rundown.
it's all good. We'll hit it up both places.
Yeah, I found that to be super useful and also super enjoyable. Just good people and good hangouts. So.
We are so excited to have you with us tonight. For those of you who don't know, we have a Patreon community, which is just a way that the fans of our show can help donate to the show to help support the costs that we have for hosting and broadcasting, and also to help for the prizes that we give out, the swag that we give out to everyone, and the prizes that we give for our league winners. Those are all just funded by we who produce a show and the supporters through the Patreon community. So it's a blessing to have everybody here with us. And Nathaniel, as one of our top supporters, has earned a spot to be a guest tonight. That's one of the perks of being one of our top supporters. So we have different tiers, and this is the guest spot. And unfortunately, Nathaniel has some bragging that he can do compared to us for this week. So it's going to be a fun time. So let's just... Oh, if you want to check out the Patreon, I almost forgot, most important part, you need to go to patreon.com/MLSFI. That's patreon.com/MLSFI. So let's talk about the round recap. I already see a lot of moaning and groaning in the chat, and I feel you. This round, this round, Blayne, how'd you do?
Yeah, can't complain a whole lot. I was a little worried once I saw my scores start coming in, and I front-loaded my team heavily with Atlanta guys, and so at one point I was round rank 6th, and I only fell off from there, but I still finished in the top 300 for the round, which I'm not going to complain about. When you've got this many players, being top 300 is a good start. 79 points. It's decent. I'm seeing other scores. There was definitely room to improve. My bench did not hit very well. I ended up having to make some changes, but lots of 5s and 6s on a week like this where none of my teams got clean sheets. I don't think I hit a single clean sheet right, which is why I've been telling you, don't bother looking for clean sheets, go for bonus point producers, and I did, and it worked. Mensa got a 7, Gutman for Red Bulls got a 6, Zusi got a 5. And then I ended up switching because I had Sapong and Nani on the bench. I was busy with some friends Friday night and could not get that one switched out. That's pretty much my only big mistake for the week. So I ended up bringing in Arriaga, and he got a 5. So I can't complain with my defense there. It's just 79's not great, not terrible. Did not drop me out of the top 100 in overall rank. Sitting, what was that? Just looking it up. 202 for fantasy qualifiers, about 10 points back of the top 50 right now. Seems to be my spot, is always about 10 points back from the top 50. So, but given how crazy the week was and how many good players had bad scores or worse scores than I did, I'm not going to complain a whole lot. One thing I will shout out here is Skylar came on the show last week and picked up the MLSFI curse. I did beat him in the invitational head-to-head. I know he's been a league leader in there all season long, and so that's a big win for me to take down. But I think it's more to do with Skylar just coming on the show, and he even got a 74. So really a mixed bag this week. Yeah, just 79, not bad, not great. I'll take it and just move on from here.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of mixed bag. Like I said in the comments, we have Fizz has got 103. That's the highest score I've seen who's joined us, so congrats right there. A few 90s, some 80s. Good job. I unfortunately was in that same little boat with you all, Blayne, and I only got a 70 this week. We're going to end on a high note with Nathaniel in just a second. I only got a 70, and the same thing happened to me as with you. I had a fantastic early week. I had about 30-something points on my bench, and I was like, this is some good times. I'm looking forward to this, and I needed to decide on a switch that I wanted to make. And one of the other YouTube creators who I like to watch, it's a video game channel, his name is John from Mini a True Nerd. He has this little segment that he does in lots of his videos where he goes, let's talk about the things that Reid did wrong. And that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight. Of course, John, Reid swapped it around. And yes, what did Reid do wrong? Well, I saw these scores on the bench. I saw Mensa with 7, I saw Zelarayan with 11, and I saw Mihailovic with 11. And I was like, all right, I got 2 guys coming in from my defenders. I need to get rid of one of my field players. And I looked at Moreno, and I looked at Tati. And I said to myself, I want bonus points, so I'm going to get rid of the forward. I'm going to keep the midfielder. No. What did you do, Reid? You said it last week. What does Tati do? He shoots and shoots and shoots and racks up bonus points, and you're crazy and you dropped him for Moreno that had a tougher game against Nashville. You knew it, but for some reason you just were like, midfielders get bonus points. So I did that. Moreno got 6 points for me, and Tati ended up getting 13, something like that. Yeah. So I left some points on the table right there. Fortunately, I did still have Maxi in my bench or on my team, and so I got that 14. But it was a lot of underperforming for me. My best players were on my bench, and my field players did not produce as well as I had hoped. So 70 points there. Won almost all of my head-to-heads though. Still, so it was definitely a rough week for a lot of people. I had 2 wins and a draw with the head-to-heads. So I can definitely see I'm in good company with the poor scores based on Skylar and based on lots of you all in chat as well, and you, Blayne. This was just one of those crazy weeks. However, someone who is not in that same boat with us is Nathaniel. How did your team do?
Now I feel bad, but I ended up on 92 points this week, which was great. That was week rank 34, and what was even more important to me is that puts me 26 for Champions League. I have not qualified yet. I was close in the first one and have come up short at the post in the last 2 sessions, so I was really happy about that. Team just ended up sort of doing well. I feel like I got unlucky at well, probably not unlucky, but I chose poorly on goalkeepers, and my Seattle players didn't do anything. But I feel like based on everybody else, like everybody was in the same boat there. Like I didn't even have the same goalkeepers as everyone, and it looked like everybody came up with a 2 and a 2 on their switcheroo on their keeperoo. And then I had Rui Diaz and Ladero, who didn't do great. But I got the Driussi captain right. Speaking of plugs for the show, thank you podcast, because I think it was Skylar that was talking about that on the last episode.
He was, yeah.
Being a possibility. And this is, for me, like it was a week where I wanted to push to be in a better position for Champions League this time instead of chasing it on the last week of the round. And so I captained Driussi, and that worked out. And then I had a real decision right at the end where my bench was failing, but I had Gald on my bench, and it was like, well, I've already got Mihailovic as 11. Do I leave both blanks on the field and just fingers crossed that Gald comes through? And that's what I ended up doing, and he did. So that was a nice 11 points and basically like my last player on the field. So it was a good week, and now we'll see if I can not screw it up the rest of this.
No, good. John, off to a good start. Yeah, that Austin-Dallas game was just absolutely bananas. People who invested that scoreline, just as I was watching on my phone, I didn't watch that game live. I was just thinking, wow, that is not what I expected anywhere at all. So yeah, all the forwards there just tearing up. All the offensive players there just tearing it up like crazy. So some great stuff there. But no, great score for you. I had in my head, I was going to say great round all around. No, that's not what happened. It was a rough round for many people, a great round for you. And I think you said it right that you went with some of the players that were chalk, and that's what I think was safe for a lot of people, and why a lot of people are in this boat is maybe they started this round with some of the chalky picks, some of the uncertainty with the All-Star game and just some weird things that were going on. But yeah, not a bad way for many people to start the 4th qualifier. Still plenty of time left. You've got 4 more rounds in the qualifier, still plenty of time to catch up and get off to a good start or a good finish to get into the Champions League for the 2021 season. Should be good times. Let's talk quickly about some general takeaways for this. I don't have any to add because I just don't feel like I am deserving to provide any takeaways since my team did so poorly. Besides just you never know what's going to happen with MLS. So, Blayne, what did you take away from this week?
Yeah, I've got 2 kind of I told you so's, and they paid off this week really well. Gall to hit for Vancouver. When we were struggling to find good midfielders, Gall had one of the better scores of the round. Vancouver seems to be flying right now with him out there. I think this has got to be on everybody's radar at this point. Vancouver are legit, and if we're missing some key names, which we will be for World Cup qualifying and all of that, he's got to be on the radar as a midfielder. Just another great week for him, coming in, just involved in everything, and Vancouver's finding a way to score a lot of goals right now with that going on. And then Portland showed up. I was a little nervous about this game. I faded Rui Diaz and Ladero. I talked about them being fallbacks last week if other players don't hit. I stuck with my gut on that one. I faded Seattle players, and Portland showed up with a clean sheet. I just had that feeling, and so Portland, I was really hard on them a couple of weeks ago after they gave up 6 to Seattle. I bet against them with Sporting and got burned by that a little bit. Didn't bet against them this time. When they've got a chip on their shoulder, they can be a really solid team. I think they're really hit or miss, so don't bank on Portland. Don't rely on Portland too much. But if they've got that attitude, don't overlook them and don't pick against them just because you think the other team's really hot right now. Portland shows up when they've got that attitude going. The Revolution finally looked like a normal MLS team, missing Heel and Buchanan. That was surprising. We're gonna have to watch that. Buchanan's with Canada now, and Heel is back in the States. He is training again. That's a huge boost for them. But until he starts, I think New England's a team you kind of need to shy away from without him. Now, Bo didn't start this one either, but when they're missing both of those midfielders, I don't think they're quite as potent, and not a team I'm going to be relying on. And then I had a question more than anything because I couldn't tell. I got to watch part of the game. Was Atlanta's offense just bad, or did Nashville's defense really show up? And I didn't get to see enough of the game to really get a good answer on that, but that concerns me. I thought there were going to be a lot of goals there. Nashville ended up getting the 2 I expected them to get, but Atlanta didn't score. And I'm not sure if that's based on Atlanta being unable to find ways to score, or if Nashville's defense just kind of solidified. And I know they've been up and down, but if their defense is getting back in rhythm, they're a defense I want to keep an eye on. It's just they haven't been doing it lately.
All right, Nathaniel.
Well, I was I'm on the same. I'm with Blayne on the Vancouver thing, and I had in my notes that Vancouver and Montreal, Vancouver based on like the last 3 weeks, and Montreal sort of based on the whole season, are 2 teams I need to like reset my brain about. Like I'm like anchored to the idea that they're both horrific, and when I'm just like scrolling the schedule, I think I dismiss them faster than I should, and I think it's become clear recently that Mihailovic and Gold are both legitimate plays if they're at home, and maybe even on the road against like mid-table to lower table defenses. I think you have to be able to, if you're looking at my other 2 are, make sure you set your date range sliders correctly if you're analyzing whether you should have DC United players in your team, because man, they have just like, they all like got together and I don't know, like burnt the right incense or something, because they're beating teams up and like really putting the press on and turning teams over deep in the other team's half, and producing chances and producing goals out of that too, not just turning them over and making them look bad, but like actually getting goals out of it. But if you look at their season as a whole, if you view the whole thing, like, they're down in some of those metrics. They're down on the rankings a little bit. They're still only in 7th, I think, in the Eastern Conference. But for our purposes, for fantasy purposes, they're right up there as like, or should be, I think, considered like right next to the top of the Eastern Conference as far as options and stuff like that. Like good matchups are really good matchups for them. And then my last one is just that I'm kind of of the opinion that both LA teams can be picked on for the foreseeable future. LAFC is going to be missing some guys from call-ups. It looks like we mentioned that they're looking at possibly selling Rossi here at the end of the European transfer window. That, to me, seems like maybe they're either really happy with their young guys or they're kind of giving up the ghost this year. And then the Galaxy just can't seem to not let in goals. And so as a result, I think both teams are something that you can look at, and maybe you don't take the defense against them because they both do score goals, but I think both of them, if you've got offensive guys going against them, those are reasonable matchups, even if the offensive guy's team doesn't end up winning.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely see some rebuilding with both of those teams. Kind of the beginning for Bradley's squad right here of sending off some guys and like thinking about the future, and then that's what's happening right now at Galaxy is we're just seeing that shift in the coaching change. They're not getting that bump like we saw Toronto had for a little bit, and now that's gone, and Atlanta's had, and then now that's kind of slacking off, and that's kind of what's happening with LA, some rebuild. I will add two things. I lied. I did have a couple of things to add. One is to expand upon what Blayne said. I think it's a combination of both about Atlanta and Nashville. Atlanta had the majority of possession for that game, so they were moving around the field, but they just weren't able to make the best effort with that possession. Nashville was able to sit back into its defensive roots and just play comfortably back there, but they have just been getting this offense going like they've been doing for all season. They were able to outshoot and out XG Atlanta with the opportunities they generated. So it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, as they would say in Archers, that you didn't have a good, productive offense from Atlanta, and then you just had Nashville that was doing what it needed to do on both sides of the ball to come out with that score. So that was good for them. And then I will also pick on Columbus. That was a huge emotion for me that game, which I'm going to partly blame on Ben Bear, who sends me a message on Twitter being like, "Yeah, fantasy boss," and then goals. But I mentioned I was a little hesitant about Room last week because of previous games with Columbus and Cincinnati, and Cincinnati being able to get some goals in, and Columbus's general down. And that's what happened. 3-2 in Columbus's favor, but they gave up those goals. Mensah was still a good pick from the bonus point of view, like Blayne was saying, not clean sheet hunting. But I do think that when it comes to Columbus, that they're almost falling into that bench team category. Like, these are guys you want to switcheroos, not necessarily guys who you want to be the spine and the main part of your team out there on the field. So Columbus is, in my mind, a bit more of a bench play when you're looking at them, because they're not able to get some of the clean sheets, and some of the offense isn't as predictable. Maybe Zelarayan is your one suggestion of who could still be in your field, and I could see that, but there's just some inconsistency in general around Columbus that makes me wonder, and I feel like even Azella might be a better bench play if it's an early game, before you decide what you're going to put out there. So.
Well, Columbus has been plagued by injuries and absences too. I mean,
they have. I mean, and it's not, and that's all. That's part of it. Is we can split hairs and say who's there, who's not, who's injured. But at the end of the whole holistic view of it, bench.
Yeah, I think Zella is like the only one that, and even him, like if you look back at his scores, it's like he's a constantly threatening guy, but his scores don't necessarily in fantasy like line up with this guy should be an auto start, which I think is one of the reasons that he doesn't end up in a lot of our squads like week in, week out. Like, he is not matchup proof the way the top like three or four midfielders end up being a lot of the times. Despite having talent to put up 17 or 18 on any given week, it's just not there. Certainly not from a consistency standpoint.
All right, well, that's what we have for our quick review of the previous round. We're going to be starting to go into housekeeping next as we get ready for round 19. All right, let's talk housekeeping for round 19. First, as always, going to highlight the league leaders in the MLS Fantasy Boss network of leagues. That will be one fewer next year, because if you saw the post on Reddit recently, all of that's just sort of shifted to Discord. So this will likely be the last year that we have the r/fantasy MLS league. So RIP for that community. It's kind of painful, but it's time. But anyway, leading the MLS Fantasy Boss and the r/fantasy MLS Classic League is still Nawajoa, but over at Discord, there's been some shakeups in almost every place else after this. Discord, we now have Brian Coral FC who's winning, and then over at the Patreon Open, Ryan Anderson, MLS Fantasy Stats, been on the show this year definitely, is leading in that league. Over for our head-to-heads, the Discord head-to-head, we have Sarkar with a score of 16-0-2, a record of 16-0-2, who's winning. 5 points. That is a 3-way tie there right now. Over in Patreon, we have Sasa Juniors jump back up to first with a record of 14-0-4. Again, 3-way tie based on points there. And then even with the embarrassing loss to Blayne. No, sorry, but that's not what that. Too good to pass up. Even with the loss to Blayne, Skylar still has a solid lead on first in the MLS Fantasy Insider MLS Fantasy Insider hosts Experts League Invitational, long, with a record of 14-0-4. So you got a message in chat. Hey Reid, how about Tyler beating 3 of the top 5 MLS Fantasy Insider head-to-head teams in 3 weeks? Tyler, good job. If you want to hear more from Tyler, then maybe we'll get him back on the show. Let us know. Send me an ad or hit us up on Discord. But yeah, Tyler's doing very well with some of his picks. But yeah, that's how the leagues are turning out. Super fun leagues, and that's another bonus to being a Patreon supporter is you can get into some of our Patreon exclusive leagues right there. And then Nathaniel, you're in the head-to-head league. That's another one of the perks of being right there. So it's tough, isn't it? It's tough.
It is. I didn't actually expect to do very well at all, and then I started doing better than I thought, and then I just got disappointed when I got hammered like 6 weeks in a row. So I'm right back. I actually got a win this week against somebody I recognize from Discord, so that was nice. But yeah, it's rough. I put up a lot of good weeks and then just get smoked by 8, 10, 12 points.
Yeah, it's no kidding. But the head-to-heads are like they're great equalizer. So you can it's just a fantastic like Blayne showed us this week. It doesn't matter who you are. You can get a great score.
I feel incredibly proud. I gave Skylar one of those losses.
There you go. Look at that. I lost to him.
One of those like 110 to 108 weeks too. It's not like anybody did bad.
Yeah, we had a really close one. I'm one of his wins, but we had a really close one. It was like 6 or 8 points a couple weeks ago. So yeah, it was rough. All right, let's talk about round 19. This is not a double game week. This is a very chill round, maybe a frustrating round. It's some hard choices this week, I think, but everything starts Friday, September 3rd at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The fun kicks off with Nashville versus New York City at 7:30. Then also at 7:30 we have Philadelphia versus New England. And then at 8 we have Houston versus Portland, and at 10 we have LAFC versus Sporting Kansas City. So we do have 8 teams playing on that Friday night. Everybody else plays on Saturday, so be sure you have your lineup set by 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday, or you're going to miss out on a lot of players, so be sure you get that. As I already mentioned, no team is on a double game week, but a lot of teams are on a bye week, so it's super easy for everyone to find scrubs to get your switcheroos and autoroos working. Seattle, the New York Red Bulls, Toronto, DC, Chicago, Minnesota, LA Galaxy, Montreal, and Atlanta all on a bye week. If you're watching or listening right now, if you're listening, it's probably tomorrow, but if you're watching right now, be sure to double check your Vancouver players. They're currently listed as having a bye. That is not true. Vancouver is playing. Just an update issue. Likely Skylar will get to that over the next couple of days, but don't be fooled. Vancouver is playing. I believe it's a makeup game. I saw some chat earlier on. I think this is a makeup game, but Vancouver is playing in round 19, so those guys are in play.
I believe that is also true for Austin. Sorry to interrupt.
Austin
is also listed. It's the same game, so it's probably the same issue, but Austin players are listed as being on a bye as well.
Yep. So double check that. Now I'm going to turn over to Blayne for the suspension and injury report. Also call-ups this week, and a big hats off to Tyler for getting that together for us, again, as he's been doing fantastic work this year in the Discord, pinning those things.
Yeah, I always love when I can start this off with good news, and I know we kind of talked about it a little bit, but Carlos Heel was spotted back at training with New England today. Always good to see guys coming back. I highly doubt he's available for this weekend, but keep an eye on that because stranger things have happened. If he rehabbed well enough and he's ready to go, I mean, a guy of his caliber probably doesn't need much to get back in with the team. If he's fit, I could see him starting this one, so just keep an eye on that. I wouldn't put him in your lineup, but I would definitely keep an eye on that because if he is in the lineup, he's a guy I'm going to want to go get. Also, Ladero and Blanco both got starts this weekend in a rivalry game, so that's always good news to see. I hope those guys are getting back to where we can rely on them for fantasy and don't have to worry about checking lineups all the time. But they both got starts. When guys start getting more minutes and start starting games, especially important games like that one, I tend to think they're healthy and ready to go. I could see some load management for both of them, but I could also see it just going 90 minutes from here on out. So keep an eye on that, but they are back. Yellow cards, Van Rankin for Portland and Elliott for Philly are the two that are affecting us this week. They both picked up 5th yellows, so they're going to be suspended for a game. Duncan for Red Bulls also picked up a 5th yellow, as far as I can tell. They are on a bye this week, but going to go ahead and throw it out there that look for Duncan to be on this list for a little bit. No red cards that I saw. I haven't heard any major injuries. I haven't been able to get up to date on those. We do have one huge transfer report coming out today, and that is Diego Rossi is going to Fenerbahce in Turkey. I guess he was spotted getting on a plane and headed over there. MLS has talked about it, that deal looks like it's basically done. He is out of the country, so he will not be available this weekend for sure, and probably done for the season on that one, so keep that in mind as we go forward. Oh, Tyler's given it to me. I did see Williamson for Portland did come off early. I guess it came out today that is a torn ACL. So that'll be season injury. Yeah, that'll be season injury ending. And Tyler's also telling me Fry should be available versus Minnesota for Seattle. So goalkeeper toss up right there, whether it's going to be Fry or Cleveland. I'm sure they'll put Fry back in, but we lose one of our cheap options there. And then Tyler was gracious enough to give us a whole list of international call-ups, tons of names on there as we expected. Let me get my 2 sheets going. Of it, Atlanta's going to be missing Bello, Robinson, Hernandez, and Joseph Martinez. Chicago's got Calvo and Jimenez out. Cincinnati's missing Matarrita, who does score some goals. Colorado's going to be missing Kellen Acosta and Mark Anthony Kaye. DC is going to be missing Nahar, Flores, and Moreno. Those are 3 guys that play quite a bit. Dallas is down Pepe. Pepe's getting his first call-ups with the senior team. Huge opportunity for him there, but that's going to take him away from Dallas. And Brian Acosta is the other big name out of Dallas that won't be there. Houston, I don't think anybody's really picking these guys. They're missing a handful of guys. LA is going to be down Leggett and Dos Santos again. And Raveloson is also on this list at the moment. So if you're looking there, that puts question into the forefront of guys that could potentially play. He's got some decent points. LAFC has got Palacios, Cifuentes, Kim Moon Hwan, and Brian Rodriguez gone, along with Diego Rossi now, so they're going to be really thin. Pizarro and Robinson for Miami, Reytala and Metzener, so 2 defenders from Minnesota that are out. Montreal always gets hit hard. Kamal Miller, their goalkeeper, Pentemis, Piet, Kyoto, Struna, Kiza, and Ibrahim are all gone there. Those are guys that have done well this year for fantasy, so look for some changes, but the couple of big name scorers that we like are still around. Nashville's going to be down Zimmerman, Godoy, and Leal for their major ones. Turner, Buchanan, and Buxa are also out for New England. Sands, Callan, Chanot, and Thorensen for New York City. Galese and Mendez for Orlando. Blake, Powell, Burt, Gazdag, Martinez, Mbaizo, and Montiero for Philly. Philly gets wrecked when it comes to CONCACAF play, and they're missing just a ton of guys. Again, I do trust some of their names, but they're still going to be down quite a few. RSL is going to be missing Miram. San Jose's got, this one's listed as M. Lopez. I don't think that's Chofis. I'm pretty sure that's not. Seattle's going to take their hits like normal. Roldan, Rui Diaz, Arriaga, Nuhu, and Smith. Again, that's just, they get stripped when this happens. And lose a lot of playmakers. Sporting has got Kinda and Shallowy. I know we talked about both of those a little bit last week, but those did come through. Toronto's going to be down Larea, Osorio, Lawrence, Zavaleta, Soteldo, and Mavinga. So that's another crazy team that's going to lose a bunch of people. And then Cavallini and Crepeau are gone for Vancouver. If you join Discord, or if you're on Discord, you can get access to that whole list. Tyler was great to send it to us today. I just wanted to go through the whole list tonight. We probably won't hit it that in depth next week, but it's nice to see it. It's nice to have it and just hear all those names so you get them in the back of your mind as you go forward for the next couple of weeks, because these guys are going to be gone for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And if you want to find out more about how to join Discord, it's easy. It's free. Head over to mlsfantasyboss.com/discord, and all the information is right there. Yeah, it's a great community. Lots of different subforums where you can talk and chat, different channels you can chat with people about fantasy, about off-topic stuff, and about some of the other fantasy leagues as well for different teams in the different countries. So, but we're talking MLS Fantasy. That's what we're here. Over 800 people are a member of our Discord server, which includes some of the top players in the game. So yeah, definitely check it out. It is a fantastic source. All right, great summary there. Lots of moving and shaking. This is why it's going to be a strange, rough round, and why I think picks have been kind of frustrating this week, because there are so many ups and downs and unknowns with who's going to be playing and how that's going to impact. So that's what we're going to be talking about next in our player pick section. All right, let's talk player picks. First, just real quick, guys, what are a couple of games that you're really looking forward to seeing this week? Blayne?
Yeah, even with the absences, I think SKC LAFC is one of those games that could really open up. Just got that feeling that it's going to be one of those goal fests again. Sporting's defense hasn't been the strongest at times, but LAFC is missing so many attacking players, so this may be just triple up on SKC and hope for the best. No Shallowy means you lose one option there, but Polito, I think, got a 7 without a goal or an assist the last time out. So, and I haven't trusted the LAFC defense much lately, so that's a game I'm really going to be watching. And then the makeup game, Vancouver and Austin. I think that one's primed for a blow-up score. I don't know quite which way it's going to go. These two teams are trying to prove where they're at in the league, show that they're not just pushovers. I think both of them have found some scoring form lately, and I could see this one just blowing up for 5 or 6 goals with the way these two teams are playing. And so I'm looking forward to it. I think that's going to be my must-watch on Saturday for those games, because I'm expecting fireworks from two teams I don't normally sit down and watch very often.
I'm going to throw 2 more on that list. For me, Philadelphia, New England. I think that could be a really good game for New England. Philly is missing a lot of pieces there, and so I know people are like, well, Heel is maybe it back. Is he going to get how many? Maybe he plays, and people are gone, but Philadelphia is missing a lot of people, so I still think there could be some good opportunity for some New England players right there. And then I'm also going to throw Cincinnati versus Miami on here, because I've got a flyer, a punt pick from this team that could pay off, so I'm excited about that. Nathaniel, what about you?
I'm with Blayne. I had Vancouver and Austin on my list. Vancouver has been all over the place lately, and hard to look at the scoreline of the highlights from that Austin-Dallas game and not think, well, this could be fun. I've got Nashville and NYCFC on my list. I think looking at Discord and just looking at who the call-ups are and stuff like that, I think that could be a game that produces points. I think that on both sides. And then I have Houston and Portland on my list, mostly because Houston is bad, and yet they still get hit real hard by international call-ups, and they're missing a couple starting defenders and a couple starting midfielders. And if Sebastian Blanco starts, I feel like Portland could score a bunch of goals. They might also give up a bunch of goals, but I think they could score a bunch of goals in that game. So that one's I've sort of got circled to pay attention to lineups when those come out.
All right, well, let's talk players, and as always, let's start out with keepers, defenders, and clean sheets. Blayne, what do you like?
Yeah, I didn't like the listings of clean sheets this week.
Sure.
Nashville's about the only team I put on there, given call-ups and rotation and just where these matchups are being played, who's playing them, road versus home form, and all of that. I just don't see a lot of clean sheets happening at all. I think every team this week could easily score a goal. I think Nashville's probably got the best chance, but I mean, it's New York City, and so that's always worrisome. Tati has been scoring like crazy, so who knows on that. So go back to your bonus point, guys. Some teams I like on this are, like I said, Nashville, but I like Colorado as well. Defense has been playing really well. If there's always an outside shot for a clean sheet there. And so I'm going back to my bonus points. Goalkeeper is probably Willis to Yarbrough. Yarbrough's been standing on his head this year and got the most clean sheets of any goalkeeper in MLS this season. Which, I mean, if you're going to gamble on no clean sheets, you might as well go with the guy who's had the best record of getting them. And he's been picking up bonus points. Colorado gives up some shots, but they give them up in ways he can save them. And then going back to 3 trusted defenders I've used quite a bit this year, and that's Mensah, Boubacar, and Wagner. You're looking for bonus points, a little bit of offensive potential. Those 3 guys are there. All of them can score goals when they get the opportunity. And just those 3 have just really served me well. The obvious missing one here is Fontas for Kansas City. I like him too. I just don't know what to expect on the road. Missing a couple of key players in the attack. I just don't know what's going to happen with that game, and I'm going with the ones that I think are a little more trusted this week.
Nathaniel, what about you?
My clean sheet list is, similarly, I don't feel real strongly about any of them. I feel strong with Blayne. I think there could be a lot of goals this weekend, or at least a lot of not zeros on the board. I have Nashville as well. I also have SKC. SKC tends to give up really cheap goals really early in the game when they're at home, and then they do a lot better on the road. They've got clean sheet of Colorado to their name, and some generally low-scoring games. I just think there's a shot that with LAFC up in the air and losing Rossi and Rodriguez getting called up, that might not just be enough firepower for LAFC. And then, I'm sorry, Reid, but I also have Miami. They've been playing a lot better defense recently. I know it's a road game. I'm not super locked into them, but at the same time, it's a possibility. As a result, though, my goalkeepers are Clark into Marsman right now, and that could change. Clark, because I think Houston is missing some guys. I think Portland obviously showed well this last week. They play on day 1, and then Marsman, because I think there's a possibility that their defense has become sound enough that Cincinnati can't find a way through. And then my defenders right now are essentially Fontas right in the middle, and then I have Bravo and Wagner on the bench, with Rosenberry and Antonio Carlos on the field. And Antonio Carlos and Rosenberry would be the scrub outs if the 2 guys on the bench hit. If one of them doesn't, I would probably prioritize having Antonio Carlos in my lineup over Rosenberry right now. That's sort of where I sit.
Nice. Yeah. So for me, clean sheets. I'm not counting on that. I'm like Blayne. Definitely not something. Maybe New England on the road against that weakened Philadelphia team. I think Sporting Kansas City has a shot. Orlando's got a shot. Colorado probably has a decent shot, but it's not something I'm really banking on. Those are some teams I'll throw out there. Goalkeepers. So I am looking at a Turner Yarbrough keeperoo, perhaps. Again, I'm kind of focused in on this Philadelphia game, and I'll think more about it, see what people are saying in Discord chat. But New England's got a lot of its back line there still, and Turner's there, and Turner's fantastic.
Hey, Turner's called up. It would be Knighton playing for New England.
I thought Turner was still listed as available for this game, though.
I don't
Did
think
he leave?
They haven't put international call-ups into the system yet with red dots.
Okay, well,
He is called up for sure.
Right? Yeah, I know he's on the list, but okay. Well,
They play
either
Thursday
one.
night, so
Either one. Okay. Either one. We'll see. But it's in what? Nashville, isn't it? Where are we playing?
no.
Who's in Nashville?
At El
Willis.
Salvador.
So, well, who's in?
Nashville.
Willis is goalkeeper for Nashville.
That's the I was trying to think where we played. I don't know. I've been seeing things on Twitter about people arriving in Nashville, and so I just got confused. This is what happens when I'm browsing Twitter as I'm listening to this. It gets all anyway. I still like New England. I still like Knighton. I like that there. I mean, we've got Jones there. We've got Farrell there. We've got a lot of the guys, and Philly is missing a lot. Missing so much, and so I think there is a good shot at Philly or at New England for a road. I'd go with the New England keeper. It's the second game, however you want to look at it, of the round. There's still plenty of options for keeper Rue. After that, I'm looking at Colorado. Not super sold on San Jose, but I'm not a huge fan of that having to wait that late. But I just don't like a lot of the other options. I don't trust Cincinnati not to give up a goal. So I saw Ted mention Cameron. Bold pick. I don't trust Cincinnati not to give up a goal to Miami, but I still feel like that they could sneak one past. So I'm not looking at Miami as a keeper. I've mentioned what I think about Columbus before with giving up. Orlando, though, is a question mark because they still do have Zelarayan who can't put there. Vancouver, Austin, like you said, Blayne, could be just bananas. So, I mean, I'm thinking it may be that Colorado game that has the best shot at another clean sheet, and so that's why I'm looking at New England and Colorado as my keeperoo, because New York still has Tati. They still have Maxi. So they still have people who can generate chances and have the ability to score on Nashville. So I'm not necessarily sold on that. But I've got Nathan. Yeah, I just saw that pop up in chat. I've got Fontas, I've got Nathan, I've got Carlos on my team right now. Everybody else there are just bench scrubs. I'd look at Jones. I'd look at Youngworth as well for Vancouver. That could be a good bonus point production right there. So those are some other guys I'm throwing around to add to the list of what you all have already said. Let's see here.
Yeah, I want to comment on two things.
Yep.
One, I like Colorado this year a whole lot. I don't trust San Jose's defense even at home. I thought about Nathan. I was like, ooh, San Jose's playing. A lot of my other defender options are missing. They've got a home game when I'm looking at a lot of road defenders. And then I thought it was Colorado. So I shied away from that one pretty quick because I know Nathan gets talked about pretty much every week as one of those fan favorites. And then, Nathaniel, I have to ask, you said Miami defense. Will you Breck Shea if he starts? Ashley would want to know if she was here.
I have a vaguely love relationship with Breck Shea, but also hate, because I was sitting real close to the field when he was on Dallas and came to SKC, and it was like he was in full flower, and it's been years ago though. So no, I don't believe that I will Breck Shea, even if he starts. I will leave that to others. But yeah, it was glorious. It was one of the best crosses I've ever seen, and I couldn't have been sadder about it while I sat in the stands. It was just ungodly good. But no, the Pony Boy will not be on my squad, regardless of starting.
Poor Ashley. Well, let's move on to other players who are part of your squads and start talking about midfielders. Nathaniel, kick us off here.
Okay. Right now, I have Mukhtar from Nashville. I've got Rusnak. I actually currently have Acosta from Cincinnati, which goes against my idea that Miami might get a shutout. And I have Gold from Vancouver. And then in my middle spot, I have Nani on the field right now. But in my mind, that is a Nani/Blanco spot. And if Blanco is starting for Portland, that is who I would have there. And if he's not, then I'm going to pay attention to the Orlando lineup. And if Nani starts, I'm putting him in. And then if he's not starting, I'm probably screwed, because then I have to think about it, and it's already late on a Sunday, and I'll make the wrong decision or whatever. But to me, Blanco, I think that, like I said earlier about the Portland game, I think there's a good opportunity there. And if If he starts again after starting and going 65, then I think he's healthy. I think there's a chance he goes 75, maybe even the full 90, and puts up some really nice points. And if not, then I have to pay attention to Nani, because obviously coming off injured and then only coming on as a sub, that's still up in the air to me whether he is a viable option. I don't think he's a set and forget option. I think if you like Nani this week, you really need to be paying attention to lineups, because that's still up in the air.
All right, Blayne.
Yeah, first thing I wrote in the rundown for this one is Heel back this round? I know he's in training. If he's there, it's first game of the weekend. If Heel's back, he's in. 100%. I'm not doubting it. I don't care if he only goes 60. If Heel's back, he's in this round. Philly's missing too many guys. I will take that chance and run with it. If Heel, yeah. And then the other 5 I've got right now, because I doubt Heel is in, but if he is, he's going. Gald was the first guy I added to my list. I think he's playing way too well right now. Probably the best of the available midfielders that we've got. Given a few injury caveats there, I don't know that I could say he's better than Blanco, but I don't know what Blanco's fitness is still. I'm watching that closely. And then going back to Mukhtar and Zella, both of those guys have been hitting regularly enough. Mukhtar makes me a little nervous because New York City has been doing well, but they're missing a ton of their defensive guys this week, so I think this is the week they can go off. Zella is just, he's so hit or miss, but this is Orlando, and Orlando does not have the defense I trust, so I'll go right back to him. I'm going to go with the safety pick in Jack Price. He's steady 7s and 8s. He's not going to light it up, but if other things go wrong, he'll be steady and get me the points I want. And he's taking a lot of set pieces and a lot of corners for them, which when you get a defensive guy who's picking up defensive bonus points and taking set pieces, like, they get really, really good really fast. That's why Grey Goose for Minnesota a few years ago was such a hot commodity as a defensive midfielder. He was taking set pieces, and set pieces can completely change the outlook for a defensive mid. And that's Price. Steady floor, not a high ceiling, but I'll take it on a week like this. And then I'm also on the Lucho bandwagon. I think this is one of those weeks where the competition at midfield is really thin. I don't trust a lot of guys I've seen. I don't trust Miami's defense. I think this is a game set up, ready for Lucho to have a decent score. Now, he'll probably be a bench play, because the last time I expected him to get a decent score, he ended up with, I think, a 3. And so I've trusted him before. I will not trust him to that degree again. But I'm willing to take a flyer on it and see what happens here and go from there, because I think this is one of the better matchups you can have for this week.
To add to that, yeah, Mukhtar I like a lot as well. Gald, I have Resnack on there. I also have Acosta. I thought that might have been my sneaky little punt there, but no, like I said, Cincinnati tends to generate something, and when they generate anything, it comes from Acosta. I'm not high on Brenner. I haven't been high on Brenner a lot most of the season. He's just not been very consistent. Acosta has been consistent when something happens. I think there is a chance for something to happen against Miami. I think they will give opportunities, and I think Acosta can take advantage of that. Maybe he doesn't get the goal or the assist. Maybe they get a 0-0 draw, but I think he could get the bonus points from there. So I feel okay with that. Probably a better bench play. He's on my field right now just because I have players from Friday on my bench. But no, I do like Acosta. After that, it's so up in the air. I have Heel on the bench just because I agree with Blayne. If he starts, you play him. I think you almost have to. I love the Blanco shout out right there. I love talking about Jack Price, Zella's. Maybe though, like I said, I'm kind of not all about Columbus, and with them playing away at Orlando, I don't know. I feel like you could have some better options. Maxey could be a better option maybe than going with that, but there's just so much up in the air with that. I like midfielders better than forwards this week, and so I think if you're going to be scrubbing a spot, if you're going to have heavier defense, that you could scrub a forward before you would scrub a midfielder and get a better shot at some bonus points. Speaking of forwards, seamless transition. Yes, bonus points for me. Let's talk about the forwards that you guys are targeting for this round. Nathaniel.
Targeting is a strong word. I currently, right now, I have CJ Sapong on my bench. I think the fact that essentially the entire starting defense for NYCFC is out is a perfectly good reason to have one of the hotter forwards on my team.
Fair.
He's only on the bench because they're the first game, and I can afford to put him there. The other guys on the field for me are Polito. I've said what I said about the SKC LAFC game. I think there's goals in it, and to Blayne's point, the man picks up bonus points as well. And then I have Gonzalo Higuain right now. Man, that doesn't make me happy to have him on the field, but that's where I am right now. I could see some other guys nipping in there, but I think I see all the guys I would think about on other lists on either you or Blayne's lists, and so I'll let people who like them better talk about them.
All right, Blayne, which forwards are you settling for? How about that?
Yeah, you were doing your midfielder section. I was like, can I just trade a couple of my forward spots for midfield spots?
I know, right?
I'd rather have a couple of other guys, but no. I think Polito's kind of the chalky pick this week. The bonus points, LAFC missing so many guys. No Shallowy to take extra balls off on the wing. It's just going to be Polito and Russell. That's going to really play off nicely. But I wanted to look at other guys as well, and I know Reid does not have these guys on the list, and I know Nathaniel didn't talk about them, so I got 3 guys I can talk about real easy. One of the first guys I went looking for was Ebobisse. Colorado, I like their defense a lot, but Ebobisse's shown strong for San Jose. This is a team that's got something to prove. If they're going to make it run at the playoffs, they've got to start getting results now. And Ebobisse's used to playing with Portland and winning, and I don't think he likes going to San Jose and not winning, so I expect that little bit of extra effort to try to bring that team around. And he's got some playmakers behind him that can get him the ball. So I could see that one being really good, but he's probably the weakest of the 3 I've got. I know we're talking about it. In the absence of Cavallini, it's Brian White, former Red Bull, now playing for Vancouver. He has gotten on the score sheet a few times already this year. When they're on, and he's going to be the starter with Cavallini out. So that could be a really sneaky option there to get in there. And then when I found out Austin was not on a bye, is Driussi, however you pronounce that. I think he's up there at almost a must-own. This Vancouver defense has been giving up goals. Even while the team's scoring, they give up a few. Austin has looked lethal the last few games. I know they got shelled by Dallas, but they still put up 3 in an 8-goal game. And he's been involved in a lot of it. I can't overlook him. I think I'm going to say he's a must-own this week, given how he's been playing. And the way the other forward matchups are going, if you're going to own, you've got to own 3 forwards. You really should have 2 of them as prominent starters. I think he's a must-own, and Polito's right there with him as another potential must-own. I think you could get away from either one of them a little bit, but if I was told I could only take 2 forwards this week, it would be those 2.
Driussi's super sneaky too, because he put up 14 obviously with 2 assists, but that means he put 8. He put 8 on the board as a forward with no attacking returns factored in. That's a lot of bonus points for somebody in the forward spot.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. It's certainly worth spending a lot of time looking at, because I love the man because he saved my week, but past that, he's playing real well lately too. So.
Yeah, 2 other names just to add in there for the considerations. I mean, if you're going to be having Heel play, you got to look at Bo. I think his production tends to be better with Heel, and so that's a name you can throw out there. Again, with Philly missing so much, he's probably number 3 on my list though, so that's one I could easily switch for somebody else like a Sapong. That's a really good point about what New York is missing as well for what Sapong could take advantage of. But there's also Tati, and as I said last week with the advice I did not follow, Tati just shoots. He gets chances and he takes those opportunities, and that tends to generate points and an XG, and that's what he's all about. Now, Nashville is not missing as much as New York is, and so you can have that argument for, will he have those chances? So maybe he's also somebody who's on your chopping block where you could look at somebody else like a Driussi, like a Sapong, like a Polito, one of those guys. Maybe even a Mora or somebody from Portland if you think that's going to be a hot train, or one of the guys over at Dallas, since they were kind of sharing some goals this last week. So I think you've got some options there, and that you guys have covered a lot of the good ones. Do you have any switcheroos that you guys want to mention? I think we've kind of woven some of that into the conversation, but anybody else that you want to point out that we haven't already touched on?
I didn't have a specific name because I literally wrote in like anybody you have a feeling about into Colorado.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Like the fact that they exist at the back end, like, and that seems like a good matchup for them. They've been playing well. The defense puts up points. It's like, well, take your shot on whoever you want on your bench, and you should be able, as long as you have the funds, you should be able to roll into some really strong defenders to take over for your what would have been scrub spots, and that's kind of where I left it. It's just like, I'm gonna pick whoever I want because I feel comfortable on the switcheroo on the back end of just, drop the 2 scrubs, add in 2 Colorado guys, and feel pretty good about where I am while still being frustrated that my bench tanks. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's some names I'd be considering throwing out, but I think it'd be doing a disservice to our listeners to throw out extra names right now, because I think the gap between the guys we're talking about, and you guys have hit a lot of the names, like Tati and Sapong, are 2 names that I really like this week. I just like my other names better.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw out a Bradley Wright Phillips because he's starting in place of Zardes going into what is a somewhat weak Orlando defense, because I think there's about 7 forwards ahead of him for me this week. And money's not really an option at this point. We're having to go a little deeper. I mean, I'm talking about Brian White, who's 5.1. Like, if I'm grabbing Brian White, I can afford Bradley Wright Phillips, no issues. Like, there's not a trade-off there. So I don't think it would be doing a good service. Now, I do think there's 2 names that I want to throw out, and one is Latif Blessing. In the absence of all of those guys, he's the next guy up in the midfield. He could have one of those sleeper weeks where nobody's really talking about him, and all of a sudden he goes off. He is one of those midfielders I am a little worried about, and kind of one of those guys on the fringe. And the other name, and I know chat is talking about him right now, it's Gustavo Bo. I don't think any of us mentioned him too much in there. If Heel is playing, I think that brings Bo right back into contention for being closer to a must-own in that top tier of forwards. If Heel is not playing, I think Bo falls by the wayside, and so I think Switcheroo is a good spot to talk about him. If you're looking at Heel starting, if we see Heel is starting and Bo's out there, I think you kind of got to look at Bo a lot closer and see if he's worth bringing in for this game, because Philly is missing a lot of guys, and Bo plays better with Heel out there. But if Heel's gone, Bo's not on the radar, and I think we're all assuming Heel's gone, so we're not even talking about Bo. But it's a name we got to throw out there, and I think chat's right to talk about him in this section, because he is a viable player when he's got his team around him, and if his team's around him, you kind of want him.
Plus, he has the benefit of being one of the 2 first games. It's like you can check that and not think about it for the rest of the week. So, it's certainly worth keeping in mind.
All right, well, let's wrap this thing up with captains. Who do you all like? Blayne.
I'm all over the place. I like my midfielders. I don't like any of my midfielders that well. I'm trying to play more midfield captains this week. I think I initially put it on Zella because I think that's the best matchup for a midfielder. Price was kind of my fallback there as a really safe option to go with. I like Gald, but I'm not 100% sold on newcomers to MLS getting that captain's armband that quick. I haven't seen him have a bad game, but I know as soon as I put the armband on him, that's when he's going to have his bad game.
Of course.
And it's a wild card there. But if you want to go forwards, I like Polito, but I think Driussi would be my number one forward pick for the captain's armband over Polito. I just think the potential's there. The matchup's good. I think I'm just all over the place. I'll probably end up sticking it on Gald just because he's home midfielder with the best matchup that I like, most potential. But I'm not sold on any of this really.
Nathaniel.
I've got it on Gald from now. I think he's on a heater, and he's at home, and that's where I am. I'm with Blayne. There's a lot of things that could change my mind, but for right now, I think that's the bus pick. I'll be happy with that if I somehow lose connection and can't change it later.
Yeah, I guess maybe that is a little bit of a chalk. That's who I have it on as well as Gald. And but I don't know. Like Blayne said, he is so new. Maybe he's still not on a lot of people's radar, so maybe it won't be as chalky as we think, or won't be as chalky outside of maybe this community. I like that pick. I like doing something a little bit more bold with the captain, since I do want to make up some from giving 70 points this week. Usually when I feel like that, I captain a forward. I don't know who would be the best forward to go with if this week. If you go with, I mean, if that is Sapong, if you think he's going to take advantage of that, or if that's Driussi, or if that's Polito or somebody, then I don't know. But right now I have it on Gald because I do like some of that point production that he's had. I like the amount of goals that Dallas scored against Austin last week, and see some potential there for Vancouver, and hope that there could be some production right there. So yeah, Gald's a kind of differential as well, but maybe not as much within this community. So we'll see. But yeah, I have it on Gald. Looking over at chat, yeah, I see a lot of the same Gald. Some people tempted by Tati. Haha, Tyler, dare to Joe Willis captain. No, never. Yeah, Mukhtar or Gald. Yeah, some different options. Mukhtar could be a decent one. Like I said, he's more of a bench play for me right now, just because Nashville has the first game. It's easy to recover from that if something bad does happen. So I would not look at that myself. But whatever makes you have fun, go for that. All right, well, that's all that we have for the show tonight. Thank you, everyone, for listening, who joined us. I will get this up earlier this week. I thought I had it uploaded earlier last week, but I had a little technical snafu that I got that uploaded later. But yeah, this will be uploaded as soon as I can. But let's wrap everything up with our plugs. So, Nathaniel, 360, what's your plug?
Oh, well, it's easy. It's this Patreon community, and especially the Discord community. That's my plug. I love it. And if you pay attention, you can get some amazing tips, and as a result, you have a lot more fun playing this game that we all seem to be obsessed with. So that's my plug.
And even if you just do okay, it's still a fun community to be a part of.
Exactly.
Blayne.
Yeah, just keep Ashley in your thoughts and prayers. They're going through some stuff with the family right now, and that's why she's been gone for 2 weeks. Just send her some well wishes or whatever. Tell her you miss her if you interact with her on Twitter. She's planning on being back next week, and just thinking about her. We miss her on these shows, and it's been a weird 2 weeks not having her. She's missed one before, and it's been okay, but missing 2 in a row is really weird.
But yeah, no, feel free to reach out to her. I know she appreciated it last time. Not our news to share, so, but yeah, just do if you want to let Ashley know you're thinking about her, please feel free to do that. As for myself, as Nathaniel was saying, everything that's part of the MLS Fantasy Boss network of a community, the MLSFantasyBoss.com, the Discord, the Patreon, the MLS Fantasy Insider, just head up to all those communities, head out to all those communities, there we go, and think about becoming a part of them. The Discord community, as I said, is free. You just have to create an account. It's an easy process, and it's a lot of fun, different areas to communicate with. Of course, we have the articles at MLSFantasyBoss.com. This podcast, which you are already listening to because you're very fine people on your podcast provider of choice, but also at YouTube. And so if you do like seeing it live, some of our little goofy before stream or before the hook gets cut off with the recording intros, you can check that out. And if you do that, yeah, please like and share with YouTube. It does help us, and we do have growth throughout the time, which is still kind of amazing for me to see more and more people joining and following and just joining this fantasy community, because that's what it's all about. At the end, it doesn't matter where you end up with your score, but it's about having fun along the way, and this community has just been such a blessing to be a part of and to help build and to see grow, that I'm so happy for people like Nathaniel and everybody in chat, like Ted, like Shannon, like Tyler, all you people that come in and week out. You make it fantastic. So I can't say thank you enough, but as always, I will say good luck.